Let's jump right into this explainer of Girish Karnad's incredible play, Yayati. We're going to unpack exactly how a totally ancient myth perfectly mirrors our very modern struggles. It's a story packed with absolute obsession, dark bargains, and a really devastating failure to take responsibility. So if you're someone who loves deep character studies wrapped up in mythology, you're absolutely going to find this one rewarding.
For our agenda today, we'll be covering the obsession with youth, a kingdom and a curse, a son's ultimate sacrifice, the tragic defiance, and lastly, mirroring the modern man.
But before we get into the actual text, I want you to really think about humanity's timeless obsession with escaping old age. I mean, it's a completely universal thought, right? If someone offered you eternal youth today, what would you actually sacrifice to get it? Your wealth, your morals, maybe even your family? Keep that firmly in your mind because we're about to explore our protagonist's drastic answer to that exact question.
Section 1. The obsession with youth.
So, let's start with the foundation of the story and the brilliant mind behind it. Girish Karnad, who is a massive figure in Indian English drama, wrote this play when he was quite young, drawing directly from the Adi Parva of the epic Mahabharata. But here's the thing, this isn't just some simple retelling. Karnad takes this ancient epic and injects it with deep psychological realism. It's a true masterwork that uses traditional myth to explore some incredibly complex, deeply flawed human desires. At the absolute center of our story is King Yayati. He was a ruler of the Kuru dynasty, and he was utterly, completely consumed by the desire for eternal youth. His attachment to his youth was so deep that it blinded him to everything else around him. We're talking about a man driven by the need for worldly pleasures, endless sexuality, and this terrifying, paralyzing fear of growing old. Basically, his entire identity was wrapped up in his physical vitality. Section 2. A Kingdom and a Curse. Now, this whole tragedy is actually set in motion by a deeply tense marital dynamic. It's an explosive contrast between two women. On one side, we have Devayani, Yayati's first wife. She was forced into the marriage, and crucially, she happens to be the daughter of Shukracharya, a tremendously powerful figure who holds the Sanjeevari Vidya. That's literally the power to revive the dead. Then on the other side, we have Sharmistha. She is Devayani's slave and maid, belonging to a Rakshasa cult, and she desperately desires to become Yayati's second wife. You can kind of already see the powder keg forming here, right? Well, Yayati associating with a Rakshasa maid rapidly escalates from royal infidelity into a total disaster. Let's trace this out. Step 1. Yayati pursues Sharmistha. Step 2. Devayani tells her powerful father about this immoral behavior. Step 3. Shukracharya is predictably enraged. And finally, step 4, he strikes Yayati with the curse of old age. In a flash, Yayati is cursed to instantly lose his youth. His absolute greatest fear just becomes his reality. Terrified and completely stripped of his pride, Yayati just outright rejects Sharmistha's practical advice. She pleads with him to simply accept the inevitability of aging, reminding him it happens to everyone. But for Yayati, the mere thought of losing his youth is entirely unbearable. He literally cannot fathom a life without his worldly pleasures, which sets the stage for a really terrible bargain. Section 3. A son's ultimate sacrifice. Driven by pure desperation, Yayati makes an unthinkable request. Think about the sheer selfishness here. Consumed by his obsession, Yayati actually begs his sons to take on his curse of old age so he can regain his youth. He is entirely prioritizing his own worldly pleasures over his children's futures. He's willing to steal their prime years just to continue his own physical desires. It's a pretty stunning failure of parental duty. And out of all his sons, only one actually agrees to this horrific exchange. Just one. His youngest son, Puru. Puru goes to Shukracharya and willingly trades his vibrant, youthful life for his father's decaying age. It's a monumental sacrifice. But, as we're about to see, this decision doesn't just impact Puru. Section 4. The Tragic Defiance. You see, Puru's sacrifice doesn't happen in a vacuum. And this brings us right to the emotional climax of the play. Enter Chitralekha, Puru's newlywed wife. Now, Yayati expects her to just quietly accept this situation, to show some stoic restraint. But Chitralekha is an educated Anga princess. She is a fierce warrior, a Bharat queen, and she flat out refuses to accept this fate. She didn't sign up to marry an old man, and she will not simply bow down to Yayati's selfish demands. Her absolute defiance is perfectly captured when she tells the king, "I will not let my husband into my bedroom until he is young again. I took a vow to provide an heir to the Bharat dynasty." She logically points out that a prematurely aged husband cannot help her fulfill her sacred marriage vows. She married a young prince to continue the lineage. Yayati's selfishness has completely derailed her future. Let's look at how this builds into an unforgettable tragedy. 1. Puru trades his youth. 2. Chitralekha boldly demands a young husband for an heir, logically arguing that the responsibility now falls to Yayati since he took Puru's youth. 3. Rather than feeling any guilt, Yayati cruelly insults her, treating her like a beast for daring to challenge him. And 4. Devastated and trapped, Chitralekha commits suicide by consuming poison. It's an absolutely horrific outcome on her wedding night. Section 5. Mirroring the modern man. The pure shock of this innocent woman's death is what finally shatters Yayati's illusion. Seeing Chitralekha's lifeless body, Yayati is jolted into an awakening. Even Sharmista leaves him at this point. He finally realizes his terrible mistakes, accepts his old age, and returns Puru's youth. But tragically, it is just too late. The damage is done. An innocent life has been lost entirely because of his blindness. When we analyze Karnad's play, it becomes super clear that this isn't just a story about ancient kings, it's a direct critique of the modern man. We're looking at the danger of unlimited, unfulfillable desires, the destructive nature of pure selfishness, the absolute necessity of taking responsibility for one's own actions, and of course, the incredibly complex dynamics of the father-son relationship. These are timeless issues that mirror the modern world perfectly, where our wants constantly outpace our needs. The most crucial takeaway from the source material is this. Yayati's initial refusal to shoulder the consequences of his infidelity with Sharmishta is the true root of the tragedy. It highlights a universal failure to own our mistakes. When things didn't go his way, he passed the buck, he wanted the pleasure without the penalty. And avoiding responsibility, just like Yayati did, only spreads the suffering to the innocent people around us. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought, drawn straight from the play's core message. Are your desires controlling you, or are you taking responsibility for your actions? Girish Karnad uses an ancient myth to hold a mirror up to all of us. So the next time you find yourself chasing an endless desire, remember King Yayati and ask yourself, who might end up paying the price? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope it sparks some deep reflection.